At one time, he was like 375 pounds. He was fighting all the
muscle.
kickboxers. Solid muscle.
And,
with abs.
It's incredible, right? I said, hold, 1 minute. How would they like me to fight him? Can I fight him under the markers of Queensberry rules?
As I said before, if we fight in the markets of Queensberry, I'd love to fight him tonight.
The guy said yes. I said, I'll fight him.
You heard the challenge from Mike Tyson. What do you have to say?
Listen up here. They may call you Kid Dynamite. You mess with me, I'll put your fuse out.
Sign the contract, big boy. Sign the contract.
Bob Sapp walked into that ring at 370 pounds and told reporters he was going to sit on Tyson, not beat him, sit on him. And the crazy part, nobody thought he was joking. This was a man who had already destroyed a 4-time K1 world champion. A man who had slammed a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu legend so hard the entire ring shook. A man who had the entire country of Japan treating him like a living god. And now, he was calling out the baddest man on the planet. Before we break this down, subscribe to our channel for legendary boxing stories, brutal fights, and moments that changed combat sports history forever. October 2002. Bob Sapp steps into the K1 ring against Ernesto Hoost, 4-time K1 World Grand Prix champion, the most decorated kickboxer of his generation. A man who had been destroying elite strikers for over a decade. The odds had Hoost as a massive favorite. Why wouldn't they? Sapp had barely any kickboxing experience. Hoost had been fighting world-class opponents since Sapp was still trying to make an NFL roster. This was supposed to be a lesson in humility, but nobody told the beast he was supposed to lose. From the opening bell, Sapp charged forward like a runaway freight train. No technique, no strategy, just 370 pounds of violent, unstoppable momentum coming straight at Hoost. And Hoost, he crumbled. Boom, boom, boom. Punches raining down from everywhere. Hoost tried to use his speed, his technique, his decades of experience. But when a 370-pound man is swinging at your head with fight-ending power skill doesn't save you. Size, strength, fury, that's what won. Bob Sapp knocked out Ernesto Hoost, the 4-time champion, gone. The entire combat sports world went into shock. And then they fought again. K1 World Grand Prix Finals. Same year, same result. Sapp destroyed Hoost twice. Bob Sapp wasn't a joke anymore. He was the most terrifying man in kickboxing. And now, he wanted something bigger. But Sapp wasn't just destroying people in K1, he was also fighting in Pride FC Japan's premier MMA organization. And what he did there was even more terrifying. December 2002, Pride Shockwave. 91,000 people packed the arena. Sapp faces Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira, one of the greatest heavyweights in MMA history. A Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu master with an iron chin and legendary submission skills. Almost killed one of the greatest heavyweights on the planet. He lost that fight, but he proved something far more dangerous. He proved that when the beast connects, it doesn't matter who you are. By 2003, Bob Sapp was the biggest star in Japanese combat sports. Period. Bigger than the champions. Bigger than the legends. The beast wasn't just a fighter, he was a phenomenon. And then he said the words that changed everything. In the lead up to a K1 event in Las Vegas, reporters asked Sapp about Mike Tyson. And Sapp didn't give a typical fighter's answer. He didn't say, "I respect him," or "it would be an honor." No. Bob Sapp looked straight into the camera and said he was going to sit on Mike Tyson.
Listen up here. They may call you Kid Dynamite. You mess with me, I'll put your fuse out.
Not beat him, not outbox him, sit on him. like Tyson was a chair, like the baddest man on the planet was just furniture for a 370-pound beast. And nobody laughed. Because after what Sapp had done to Hoost, after August 2003, K1 World Grand Prix, Las Vegas, the Bellagio, Bob Sapp had just won his fight. The crowd was electric. And then Sapp grabbed the microphone. He called out Mike Tyson directly.
Now he's called. Oh, yeah. Scene you see, well, typical of Mike Tyson. Well, Sapp wanted a piece of Tyson.
In front of thousands of people on live television, and the arena exploded, chants of Tyson echoing through the Bellagio. The man who had been the most feared heavyweight in boxing history stepped face to face with the 370-pound monster who had been destroying legends in Japan. Two of the most terrifying fighters on the planet, standing inches apart. The crowd lost their minds. Tyson looked up at the giant and said 5 words that became legendary. Sign the contract, big boy.
Sign the contract, big boy. Sign the contract.
And Bob Sapp, he didn't flinch. He didn't back down. He smiled, like he'd been waiting for this moment his entire life. K1 executives were practically falling over themselves. This was going to be the biggest fight in combat sports history. A boxing legend versus a kickboxing monster. The baddest boxer alive versus a 370-pound beast. Estimates put the potential revenue at over $40 million.
Somebody, my brother-in-law, said, hey, Mike, man, I know you're not going to win, but somebody said, would you fight this guy for like 40 million or 30 million bucks?
Tyson himself later confirmed on the Joe Rogan podcast that the money was real. Roughly $40 million to step into the ring with Sapp. And for a moment, it looked like he might actually do it. But then, silence. The fight never happened. And the reasons why I tell you everything about how complicated combat sports really are behind the curtain. First, the rules. Tyson wanted a boxing match. Queensberry rules, just fists. His world. Sapp and K1 wanted kickboxing rules where Sapp could use his massive legs, his knees, his clinch. Tyson's team knew that under kickboxing rules, Sapp's size and leg kicks would be a nightmare. Sapp's team knew that under boxing rules, Tyson's hands would be faster and more dangerous than anything Sapp had ever faced. Neither side would budge. Second, Tyson's legal situation. In 2003, Tyson was dealing with serious financial and legal problems. His team wasn't about to let him walk into a kickboxing ring against a 370-pound maniac without massive guarantees. The risk was simply too enormous. Third, K1's financial troubles. The organization was already starting to struggle financially. A $40 million fight purse was a fantasy number that no one could actually commit to paying. The money sounded great on paper, but paper doesn't fight for you. And so, the fight died. Slowly, quietly, like a candle that everyone swore would never go out. What could have been? But here's what makes this story impossible to forget. Both men knew what this fight would have meant. Tyson later admitted that the offer was genuine.
Fight this guy for like 40 million or 30 million bucks. I said, like, well, who would they like me to fight? And he said, 1 minute. Then it's Bob Sapp.
And for a brief window of time, one of the most dangerous men on earth seriously considered stepping into the ring with a 370-pound monster who had already destroyed champions. Sapp? He said he would have signed the contract in blood. He told reporters, "They call you Iron Mike? I'll bend you like iron." Now, was Tyson scared? People love to say that, but look at the footage. Tyson walked into that ring in Las Vegas. He walked up to a 370-pound man and told him to sign the contract. That's not fear. That's a man who wanted to fight. The truth is simpler and more frustrating than any conspiracy. The business of combat sports killed the fight. Not fear, not doubt, just money, lawyers, and rules that neither side could agree on. And that's the tragedy of it, because for one electric night in Las Vegas, the world got a glimpse of what might have been the most spectacular, terrifying, unpredictable fight in the history of combat sports. Iron Mike versus the Beast, the baddest boxer alive versus a 370-pound monster. And we were this close. Some fights define eras, some fights change sports forever, and some fights just leave you wondering what could have been. Tyson versus Sapp is the fight that haunts combat sports to this day. Not because it happened, but because it didn't. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe to Knockout Realm, because the fights that almost happened, sometimes those are the most dangerous ones of all.